The bike safety debate rode back into the forefront this weekend in Boston after a cyclist was critically injured in a hit and run in the Back Bay. The 30-year-old man was riding alongside another person when he was hit by a car early yesterday morning. Police say he was not in a bike lane, but witnesses say the car was speeding. Yesterday also marked the one-year anniversary of Alison Wormuth's death. She was the 28-year-old woman who was killed by a duck boat while riding a scooter. A law to improve safety standards on tour vehicles, championed by Wormuth's parents, who joined me last year, took effect in April in response to that accident. State lawmakers will hear more bills dealing with street safety this session. But should Boston do more to accommodate cyclists and those riding smaller vehicles, or is this a hopeless pursuit? Joining me to discuss are Peter Firth. Peter's an engineering professor at Northeastern. He's looked into ways to make our streets safer for bikes, cars, pedestrians. Peter, it's good to see you again. Ernie Bach Jr., President and CEO of Subaru New England, who is personally responsible for countless cars populating our roads. Ernie, it's good to see you, too. Let me start with Brian McGorry. When he was a mere columnist before he was editor, wrote a column that he says was a joke in 2011, saying we should ban bicyclists from Boston, which essentially that guy in that video is saying they can't coexist. Can cars and cyclists coexist on the tight city streets of Boston?
Yes,
but
they are coexisting, but something has to change.
What is that?
I think they're designing cities to have less cars. I think the car is going to lose on this one.
Meaning that unless we have fewer cars in our cities,
Absolutely.
It's going to remain unsafe, and that's got to be the goal. That what you sell has to have have to be fewer.
It's just the city. There's plenty of other.
Okay, fine. Can they coexist? I mean, I've been honest with you. I've been on all sides of this issue.
Sure.
These are the narrowest streets. The cars can barely fit down these streets. Are you convinced that there can be coexistence in the city?
Jim, we're fooling ourselves if we call Boston streets narrow. When you compare it to Europe, it's the European cities like Amsterdam, like Copenhagen, where 50% of the trips are being made by bike. Their streets are narrower than ours.
Yeah, but I think what Ernie Bach Jr. says, in a lot of those cities, you see far fewer cars in some of the downtown areas.
And much smaller cars.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So what came first, the chicken or the egg? One of the reasons they drive cars so much less is that it's so safe and convenient to ride a bike. Do you know how many people would love to ride a bike for their 3-mile errand, for their commute to work, if they could do it safely?
Well, by the way, my understanding is there was a Harvard study a couple of years ago. It said in the 6 or 7 years from 2009, in the greater Boston area, it actually has gotten safer by some actually double-digit percentage. But it seems to me that embracing it in the abstract is one thing. My attitude as an amateur at this is, unless there's cycle tracks everywhere where there's physical separation between the car and the cyclist, we're looking for danger.
I agree with you 100%. There are the streets in which bikes and cars mix well are the little local streets. Nobody minds that. One car comes by a minute or something, and that's fine. But on busy streets, absolutely, we should have physically separate bikes from cars.
And you're not in agreement. And until we do, should they be on the same street?
Especially here. You could never do it. You'd make everything too small.
I mean, if you built that separate lane.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, isn't there some truth to that? I mean, narrow it up. No?
There are 1 or 2 places where that might be true, but the 90%. So I've been working on bicycling plans around Boston with the Boston Cyclists Union and others. We could have physically separated cycle tracks.
Without eminent domain, without taking somebody's land?
Oh, of course. Absolutely, without eminent domain. I mean, look at the Commonwealth Avenue underpass going under Mass Ave. 2 lanes in each direction. We proposed that many years ago. Hey, they only need 1 lane each for cars. The engineers studied it. Yeah, they do. Just a week ago, there was a big demonstration, Make Way for Bike Lanes.
I know that.
Around the public garden.
Actually, yeah.
4-lane, one-way roads ringing the public garden. Those roads don't need all those lanes to carry the cars.
But Peter, until we get to the place where you both agree, cycle tracks are the way to go. It's not around the corner. Even if all those that were proposed were built, it still leaves the vast majority of our streets without them.
That's true, but listen, everybody agrees cycle tracks are the way to go. The car drivers would much rather the bicyclists be in cycle tracks
if they're going to be there
than out there on the road. So the problem is this, that what our city budgets for bicycle infrastructure is peanuts.
It seems to me that your car manufacturers are part of the problem, too. I'm thinking about this as I'm contemplating you coming today. your manufacturers go out of the way, I think with the help of some dealers like you, to make the passenger or the driver as safe as is humanly possible.
Absolutely.
What are they doing to make the person who's not inside the car
Outside
safer?
airbags.
Outside airbag?
Outside, in front of the windshield, an airbag will pop up on the hood.
That exists?
That exists and will be out with every car 4 years at the most.
Outside airbags?
Outside airbags for the pedestrian.
So that means if it turns out that there was a head-on with a cyclist or something, there's no guarantee what kind of
Just be
but there'll be
softer.
some cushioning
Yeah,
between
absolutely.
them. And have you heard about this?
Yes, yes. So you still get hit by the bumper.
Understood.
But the second crash where you smash against the windshield, instead there'll be a balloon there.
How about distractions? I mean, from what I've read, about 60 to 80%, they say, of the impacts when a car hits a cyclist are the fault of the driver.
I believe that.
So assuming that's the case, that's right? 60 to 80%, they say, distractions are a huge part of the
They
problem.
are.
Are you doing anything?
Well,
you and the manufacturers doing anything to minimize that?
The manufacturers are struggling with that because that screen on your vehicle is getting bigger
exactly.
and wider and more and it turning into your iPhone and movies.
Exactly
and
the opposite of what it should.
Yeah, there's a pull and a tug.
But see, that's the problem. I mean, it seems to me, not that I know anything about selling cars, I just know about buying them. You want to give the buyer what he or she wants, and what I'm guessing we want in the abstract is more gadgets.
Infotainment, they call it infotainment.
And the more we get, the less safe that cyclist is. You agree with that?
In most
Yes,
cases.
you do agree with that. Okay, so how about these driverless car things? It seems to me this is like a disaster of epic proportions for cyclists. Oh, yes. I mean, in theory, while the drivers are the 60 to 80% cause, the ability, from what I read, of these driverless autonomous vehicles, as they're called, to spot these small objects coming at them from strange angles, that's going to be a problem, is it not?
I haven't seen that to be a problem, no. We hear again and again, it's human error, human error, human error. So autonomous vehicles, they may err some, but they'll err less than humans do.
Do you
But
agree?
it's just at the beginning. We are at the stone age of self-driving vehicles. It's going
And you
to
think
happen.
once we get past Stone Age and they're actually out on the streets with real people, you think that fear is ill-founded? My fear is
I
ill-founded.
think that they will be much better for the cities.
You know, the thing that I often get into the biggest arguments with cyclists about is I think one of the reasons why cyclists take more risks than they should, I'm not taking any blame away from drivers that are irresponsible, is cops do not enforce the laws. I mean, I live in Cambridge, in Central Square, a few blocks from my house. There are cyclists flying through the red lights all the time. If a car flew through a red light, and I know it's much more serious if they do, they'd be stopped like this.
Yeah.
Isn't greater enforcement against cyclists part of the mix here too?
It's
But it is. You know it is, don't you?
No, I'm not enthusiastic about that because the laws that we have for safety, for controlling motor vehicles, you don't have to control bicycles to get that same level of safety. I mean, look at the pedestrians crossing all the time. I
think they should be.
And yet, when they do national statistics, what's the safest city in the country for pedestrians?
What is it?
Boston comes out number one.
Okay, last thing from both. It seems to me beyond the mechanical solutions that we're talking about, a big problem, and I mean this sincerely, there's this psychological antipathy still between drivers and cyclists. You're both nodding in agreement. How do you address that?
Well, I think it's just the aggressive nature of the way people drive.
How do you address that?
Calm down, relax a little. I think they feel like they're taking something away when
I think that's exactly right. How about you? What's the solution to deal with the psyche issue?
It's the same as the solution to racism. We just need more intermarriage, and you just got to think of somebody, no matter what color they are, they're just my brother, my sister. So we need the same thing with bicycles.
So the good news is when racism ends, this problem will end too. Is that what you're saying?
That as more people ride a bike, when you see a bicyclist out there, you'll realize that could be my neighbor, that could be my daughter.
Peter, it's nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Ernie, as always.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time.